I guess, select a different target?
Yeah.
Oh no!
What'd it do?
Ugh. Oh shit. It's got a pretty legitimate... Hey, at least a mag comes right out.
Yeah.
That was a Type 3,
Oh, okay.
by the way. Whoa, chill. That was a terrible shot.
All right. Hey, this is Todd, Red River Tactical and Outdoors, and I'm with
Chris from Regular Guy Training.
And what we're doing today, we're out at the range and we're looking at Smith & Wesson M&P shields. And we've got this 2.0 here, and I just recently purchased another one. My wife carries one, so we got those two. And basically what we're going to talk about today is a 2.0, and is there a reason to spend an extra $100 on the 2.0, or should you just go with the regular shield that you can still buy now? So
I think the short version of that story is...
yeah,
I don't know.
So we've been shooting these 3 guns. We probably shot a couple hundred rounds, maybe.
Yeah, in that one setting.
Yeah. So, and we shot them from 10 yards back to 50. So I'm gonna let Chris go first and just see what he thinks. He's a lefty, so he's gonna have issues that I'm not gonna have with him.
Well, here's the thing. It's a dramatic goddammit when I talk about the shield, because it's a fantastic pistol. I really like it, and I don't know what it is personally, but I laser beam the shit. As far as a subcompact pistol goes, it's reliable. It shoots very accurately, but I do have a problem with it. And my issue with it, and what prevents me from having owned and shot the bejesus out of them in the past, is the location and size of the magazine release. Now, this is a southpaw issue, to where when you're gripped up on it, right, just the grip in it of itself, and because it's a smaller pistol, people tend to add a little bit of torque, I do anyway, on the grip. And because of that, under recoil, you start pressing on it as it recoils. And you guys have probably seen in the footage, which I'm sure he's going to put in. I dropped magazines out of this thing on, like, what, a dozen occasions?
Probably. Yeah.
Almost,
Yeah.
or
Close
just
to it.
Enough to be like, wow, that's a lot, right? Now, ordinarily speak, like, this is an issue that I've had with other M&P style guns in the past, but I didn't really care because you could switch it from one side to the other. And that's really the only time that I actually care about it, about switching from one side to the other, because of that little grip issue. But because you can't, I'm on a solid no on just owning a shield in general, which really sucks because it's a really good pistol. Now, I did a review on one of these on my channel. God, like 2013, I think.
I'll find that and link that below too.
I don't even know if the video still exists.
Oh, okay.
If it does, great. If it doesn't, you're out of luck on that one. But if it still exists, you could see, I mean, I had issues then too. Which really sucks, because it is a real solid pistol, and I like it a lot, but, I mean, that really is what it is.
So as far as the 2.0 and the older version of the M&P, would you, if you was going to buy one, would you spend the extra $100 for the 2.0?
No. Okay. It's a resounding no. The only thing that some guys may care about, and this is a preference thing, is I don't know what it is. Maybe they beefed up the recoil springs in these, but I was paying attention to both the ejection pattern and how the gun felt, like, in my hands. And realistically speaking, how a gun feels in your hand before you start shooting it is fucking irrelevant. How it feels when you're shooting it is.
Yes.
Right? Because you could tell what the recoil impulse is like. You can tell a lot of times what the pressure differential is. Not like in exact numbers.
Right.
But you can tell the difference in how it cycles. Subcompact guns are rough. They're rough on their components because of the nature of it. Okay, it's still a full-size cartridge in a tiny frame. And slide and all that. And on this one specifically, both of us noticed a noticeable recoil reduction.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And not so much that it's like a fucking compensator on the front. No, it's very small in that you notice, okay, this cycle's a little bit smoother, the impulse is a little bit flatter, that kind of deal. So there's probably some internal component switching that Smith & Wesson did, which is kind of innocuous in the fact that Smith & Wesson tends to very quietly make alterations to their guns.
Right.
Like older style triggers versus a couple of years ago, and then now it's gone through like what, a total of 4 different little change-ups between their older guns and their newer ones. As far as the trigger is concerned, I would venture to say that anybody that says this trigger is different from the older ones is lying to you. They've always been pretty good.
Yeah.
I've noticed no real difference in the trigger, so there is not really enough for me to justify saying, yeah, sell your old one and get the new one.
Right. And I totally agree with that, because that's what I was doing. I didn't buy this one. I've got this 2.0 borrowed. But and I couldn't tell. Now, the difference is that you're going to see visually, it's got more texturing on the grip. But which, if it was mine, I would go ahead and stipple that anyway.
And what that really means is I'm stippling over the whole of it anyway, because what a lot of polymer guns, what a lot of Tupperware gun companies do anyhow, is that they always focus right in on here, but they never really focus on where the rest of your hand is on it. So
yeah, and that's what's going to move. That's what's causing me to.
Yeah, and the inconsistency is what tends to get people to like fidget and shit on the guns. And I'm not sure if you noticed, but both of us did it, even with stippling on the gun, because of it's a small pistol. Right. So if it's smooth on the sides, what's the point?
Yeah, I agree.
You know.
Also, they put this little trigger stop. They moved it up. You can see on the older ones, it's down here on the bottom, and on the newer ones, it's up. Don't really know why they did that, because the trigger never hits that anyway. I watched that when I was pulling it, so trigger never does that. Then they tried to do some kind of front cocking serrations. I guess that's what they're called right there.
I don't know. I really don't understand.
Maybe it's just for looks.
It may as well be, because in all honesty, like Smith, I'm serious. All you have to do is take your logo and just pull it back and put in some actual front side serrations if you want to do that.
Right.
You know, me personally, I don't really care whether or not they're there, because as far as a press check is concerned, it's not a big deal. Like, I can grab a slide, you know. Where it matters the most, my opinion, is back here anyway, and they're as good as they've always been.
Yeah.
So, I mean, why are we dedicating time to
add money to
it? It's like a demo. It's a demo for what a slide serration is supposed to be, because even then, the serrations themselves aren't anywhere near as aggressive.
You're not going to pull that slide back with those serrations.
No, I mean, if I'm sitting here trying as hard as possible, I can probably get it a little bit, but then you have the frame in the way as well.
Yeah, because your hand runs right off the serrations onto that frame.
Yeah, I mean, it really is whatever.
Now, one thing I did notice last night when I was looking at these guns, this is a 2015 Smith & Wesson's when this was purchased, and I noticed on my 2016 Smith & Wesson that the barrels are different. And I mean, you can see that, I mean, just right there looking at it. And I said something to Chris about it, and he noticed it too. Now, the 2.0 seems to have the same barrel configuration as the 2016 model does.
Yeah, so I mean, and that's all it really is. And for guys that can't or haven't seen the difference here, what we're looking at is the block itself, right? Like, you can see how these are slightly more reinforced and how this one is slightly not. And my guess on that is similar to like a CZP-10s,
right,
where like that whole block is ridiculously huge compared to the rest of the barrel, and it's probably so that it can just have the bejesus shot out of it with plus P and all that stuff.
And I looked all over the internet to try to find when they might have done this and a reason why, and I couldn't find anything about it. Not even a video on YouTube with anybody saying anything about it. But there is a very noticeable difference in it. So
yeah,
just
so, I mean,
put that out there.
And again, this is just the nature of Smith & Wesson, just doing shit and not telling anybody.
Yeah.
So, it is what it is.
Yeah, and accuracy, they shoot about the same. I agree with Chris. The 2.0 did seem to have less recoil, felt recoil on it. But other than that, I wouldn't say I wouldn't go spend an extra $100 or sell an old one to go
for
get
like
a new one.
a very, very slightly smoother recoil impulse.
Right.
It's, my opinion, of course, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you've already got one and you do good with it, when it breaks, okay, cool.
Yeah.
You know.
And I'm glad Chris was out here today. I come out here to do this video. He just happened to be here, so I said, hey, let's shoot him.
Yeah.
And from a left-hand perspective, because I never would have noticed, never would have known that. And it also chewed him up pretty good with that ejection pattern.
Yeah. So, and here's an example of that, right? If we're looking at where this ends up and you have a good and proper grip on it, that just because of the nature of how it recoils and how it starts to jump a little bit, I noticed with subcompact guns, I tend to cock this thumb over a little bit, which is kind of a fucking no-no for this, because that's just enough space to where the ejecting casing is going to just mar you up. I noticed I started getting less of it the more I creeped in towards it, but it doesn't really stop that from happening.
Right.
You know, so it's the nature of the pistol. It's not really a big deal. I mean, yeah. CZs and like high powers and shit do that too, to me too. So it's.
But it's good to have a perspective from a left-handed shooter. I shoot left-hand sometimes, but I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't have done that today enough to notice that, and especially at dropping the magazines on it. So.
Yeah, I mean, the day that it's reversible, I'll probably own one. You know, and I really wish that that's one of the quiet things that they did, because they do a lot of this really innocuous and in a lot of ways useless shit.
Yeah.
To the M&P, and that's one of those things that I wish that was there. Also, what is the fucking point of the manual safety?
Yeah. And every time I went to buy an M&P, where I'm buying them at, they didn't have one without the manual safety. So every one of these have it. I don't
understand how this is useful. I don't understand how this would be a consistent thing to hit. I don't understand why it's there in the first place when all you need is a quality holster and a quality belt.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean,
and I never even turn it on. Today it did get, one of them did get pushed on, I noticed.
Yeah.
I don't know how that happened.
And I'm sitting there trying to dick around with the triggers.
And you can cycle the slide with the safety on. That's unusual for a gun.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, is that, like, realistically speaking, we can sit there and say it's a training issue,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
But just about every other striker-fired gun in the forever, right, doesn't really have a manual safety, except for the M&P line, but the full-sized M&Ps have, like, 1911-style safeties.
And I noticed the full-size, they offer you an option that if you want to get rid of the safety on your gun, they'll send you a little plug where you can take that safety out.
Exactly.
This is not an option on the Shield.
Yeah.
So you can't do that.
I mean, I don't understand why it's there in the first place. If it were me, if it's my pistol, not only would I leave it off all the time, I would probably take a Dremel to the lever.
Yeah. Yeah, because you can, I did see a YouTube video where you can bend that lever on that safety, and it's just, it don't work even if it's on, I mean, but it's still there.
Doing its best to render it inert, or just get a cutting blade on a Dremel and just cut the bastard off. Because I would rather not on, like, this is one of those guns that you're taking to the gym, or it's a backup gun or something like that. My personal opinion is that if I just came out of the gym and my entire body feels worthless and now I have to shoot somebody, I don't want to have the possible thought or threat in my mind of a manual safety that kicked itself on while I was in the gym.
Right.
Or even worse, it's like a backup gun or something, and you know it's secondary to the primary pistol that you have. Statistically, the most often things shot are hands. So I don't want a bad day getting compounded and made even worse because of the possibility of a safety. And there's a lot of guys that would say, oh well, it's just a manual safety and blah blah blah. It's really hard to kick on and all that stuff. Well, if Murphy already showed up and he's already fucking with you by you having to go to a backup gun with your offhand or something because 2 of your 3 fingers have a fucking bullet hole in them, you know, and now
you can pretty well bet that safety's going to be on somehow or another.
Because now it's like it's the snowball effect of horrible things, right? Because now I'm shot, now I have to drop this gun. Now I'm going to my backup gun with my offhand that's either appendix or
ankle
or my ankle, which if it's on the ankle, it's even worse. And And while I'm doing all of this, I fucking grab the thing, I get ready to pull it out with my offhand, and as I get, and then I flinch, right? And I'm sitting there flinching, and by the time that I figure out that the safety's on, the dude's beating me to death with my useless pistol.
Right.
I'm good, man.
Yeah.
I'm good. I would rather just not have the thing at all. So me personally, as far as your individual safety, I would just cut the bastard off.
Yeah.
But that's me personally.
I agree. So.
One more thing, and if I'm allowed to.
Go ahead.
Why?
All right, I'm going to tell you one thing too. With these magazines that I did find out, because a lot of people would want to take this off.
Mm-hmm.
You can over insert this magazine if this is not on there, causing the gun to malfunction. So, and I learned that actually Reed Hendricks done a demo with it, taking that off and showing the magazine could be over inserted, causing the gun to not work.
So that deems it a follow-up question.
Why?
Why?
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
why does this exist? Why does this clear Achilles heel exist? I mean, if you're in the middle of it and you're sitting there trying to insert your magazine or whatever, a lot of people get used to what has to happen in order to insert a magazine. They're used to a certain level of, tension.
Right.
Right? So if you're sitting there trying to insert the thing, number one, if you're inserting it in that way, and let's say that you're in slide lock or whatever, right? And you're going to insert the thing, what we could possibly have here is a weak insert.
Yep.
To where we're sitting there.
Because you really have to hammer on that when it's loaded to get that thing to see.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really noticed as well here, but it's one of those things where it's like, for instance, on this guy, right? It's a pretty easy insert. On this guy, you have to do a certain amount of effort to get it in there, right? And clearly it locks up and that kind of deal, which means as far as just inserting the magazines, now we have to go at it with retard strength the entire time.
Yeah, right.
I recognize that there is a reason why this is here and all of that stuff, right? But and the other reason is if you want to service your magazine, you have to move it and then hit the plunger and get it out of there. Me personally, it's one of those things where it's like, you get like a dog bowl with some water in it, and you take a punch and just do this a bunch of times, and what's in there will come out. Yeah.
And you're only getting one extra round to have to fool with all that.
So if we're gonna have it, what I would personally do is just yank this guy back, get some super glue on that thing, just pin it down so that it stays down, and we don't have to worry about anything like that. Yeah. Just when there's loose moving parts, it makes it. This may very well not be a real issue. I'm just saying it's one of those things where it's like, I think about Murphy, and I think about how many ways can my day get messed with because of moving or loose parts or something like that, and this definitely qualifies as something that's going to worry me. Now, whether or not that's real, that's up for you to decide, but it's one of those things where it's like, if you don't throw super glue on it or whatever, I would retard insert every time on it.
Another pet peeve, too, of mine is the slide stop button. It's very hard to use as a release, especially if you're inserting a loaded magazine. Right there with an empty gun, it's not bad, but for some reason on a loaded magazine, this thing, you really got to get in there.
And for you, and for the boyos that do the dry practice and stuff, which should be everybody. Yeah. But, on an empty magazine, I noticed that it's not impossible, but it's
not something that you're just going to normally do, like if you're used to a Glock or something like that.
It's just south of a huge pain in the ass.
Yeah, right.
So. Yeah. But little things are little things, and realistically speaking, just like everything that's been designed ever. I mean, me personally, everyone's gonna have issues here or there. I mean, I carry a Glock 19, and I got 50 problems with a Glock 19.
Right.
And what tends to be our favorite pistol, quote unquote, is the most not feasible, because I've been a 1911 guy forever. Yeah. And I acknowledge it. Okay, it's a 2-pound pistol with subcompact capacity. And it's a fucking fighter jet. You have to maintain it like one.
Yeah. But all in all, I mean, they're going to be reliable. We had a few malfunctions today, but if you notice the malfunctions, I did notice it is with a P-mag that we're using. It's a 10-round piece of junk P-mag that I just used.
Oh, it's a P-mag?
Yeah.
P-mag?
Not P-mag. What is it? Pro Mag.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize I was from Pro Mag.
Yeah.
Why the fuck do you own that thing?
Well, I told you I was just going to keep it till it run completely down. So.
Okay. Well, yeah. We had a. I
don't even know how I got it. I didn't even buy the thing. It just showed up one day.
See, the excuses start. The
go.
excuses start now. He's like, I just went through my stuff and it was there.
Use it. No.
Okay, whatever.
But anyway, that's what we was having issues with. I think it could be. All those could be related back to the magazine, except for the ones where the mag was falling out.
Which is just,
right.
It's not
because you had like a triple feed on one of them or something.
Well, I had a Type 3 on one. I don't remember what magazine it was or whatever.
It was that's the first thing I looked at. It was that mag.
Oh, okay, so I mean, so in that case, there was a failure to. There were 2 failures to eject, and then I had a Type 3 stoppage in there. So okay, great. Whatever, dude. Fix it.
I mean, you're gonna have malfunctions with stuff like that. But
yeah, I mean that's why we buy quality magazines.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a note too. Shield magazines are ridiculous.
Yes.
They're expensive as shit.
Yeah. I did find some on eBay where you can get like 2 for $34, which was that's good for a Shield magazine.
And it's definitely gonna be bad right now.
Yeah.
As of
that's a whole other video.
What is it, March 3rd right now?
Yeah, March 3rd, 2018.
Yeah, as of right now, it's gonna suck.
Yeah.
For you to get, but hopefully here, it'll be all right. Like, I mean, that's a whole nother.
Yeah, it's a whole nother video.
Yeah.
We might do that one. Maybe not.
But yeah, man. I mean, all in all, it's a solid pistol that I wish I could flocculate with, but. It is something to consider, and if you're a lefty and you're like, I probably won't have that problem, start shooting one first, because I didn't think I would. I didn't even think it would be a problem until I started using it, and then, lo and behold, here we go. We have issues that essentially break whether or not I'm going to use it.
Right, and see, I wouldn't even know that, so good thing you was here.
Hey, I'm sitting here doing iron sight like AR stuff, shooting a 20-inch gun, and he's like, oh hey, I'm trying to leave.
So I kept him here about 2 extra hours for this.
All right, man.
All right, that's about it, man. So check him out, Regular Guy Training. I'll put a link to his channel down below this video.
I put up the best damn reviews on this website.
Yeah. And so this is Todd, Red River Tactical and Outdoors, reminding you to be safe, always be ready.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, there it is. I kicked it out. Miss. Sad. Whoa. Oh, there it is again.
Kick it out.
Yep.
going to shoot these shields at about 55 yards, I think is where we're at.
All right.
All right, whenever you're ready.
Damn it. Kick the dirt. Like, I felt that as a miss before it even left. All right, let's
There's the gun.
Hey!
Did you see that?
You hit the ground first.
Oh, okay, because it went off the top of the barn.
Uh-huh.